hasn't saved any lives tonight, except for one, the political life of a governor who wants to be president. We have taken an entire category of firearms that are currently legal, that are in the homes of law-abiding, tax-paying citizens. We are now turning those law-abiding citizens into criminals. And I voted no, and I only wish I could have done it twice.
Steve Gill brings the power to the people.
That's New York State Senator Greg Ball, representing the 40th Senate District, which, if you know New York, that includes parts of Westchester, Putnam County, and part of Eastern Dutchess County. He's on our Newsmakers line with us today. By the way, coming up in about 15 minutes, Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky wants to nullify Barack Obama's executive orders. Also, maybe looking at a 2016 presidential run. So hang on. We've got Senator Rand Paul coming in just a few moments. Senator Greg Ball of New York is a U.S. Air Force Academy graduate, spent some time in the U.S. Air Force and went back and got elected to the state house. And then in 2010, got elected to the state Senate. And Senator, first of all, what congressional district are you in? Because in reading your resume and listening to you talk, we got to move you on up.
How you doing, man? I'll tell you, this is it's good to be with you all down south, because this is a hell of a state going in the wrong direction. It's some scary stuff. Well,
and passing this stuff literally in the dark of the night, they now realize that the 7-clip restriction affects the police officers who carry 15-clip magazines. This is another example of Nancy Pelosi and passing something so they can find out what's in it.
You know, when this bill hit the floor, nobody had read it, and a lot of times on the legislative side, I mean, you're not surprised that your legislative leaders are not reading their bill. But when we're talking about the Second Amendment, I mean, we have a lot of legislators in the state of New York that they can't find their way north of 125th Street. They think that Central Park is a national forest, and they can't tell the front end of a thoroughbred horse from the back end of a white-tailed deer. And when it comes down to caliber and the difference between even I'll give you one example. We were in conference, and at one point somebody they didn't differentiate between a shotgun and a rifle. They thought that they were looking at the exact same thing. And these damn people then, half an hour later are voting on a piece of legislation that eviscerates our Second Amendment and turns law-abiding people into criminals. And you're right, even on the magazine side, now it's been proven where it'll also include active duty military and cops who are going to and fro work.
Yeah, the problem, Senator, and by the way, my dad was a U.S. Air Force fighter pilot for a couple of decades. We were actually in Colorado Springs for a while, so spent some time at the Air Force Academy, and proud of your service, among other things.
Thank you.
The bottom line is they rushed this through. The Republicans are a super minority in New York. There wasn't any thought given to this. This is all knee-jerk emotionalism, and let's jam through something before people wake up to what we're actually doing.
Governor Cuomo wants to be president. He's focused on it very methodically. But when it came to this piece of legislation, he wanted to beat Joe Biden to the punch. Governor Cuomo spent his first 2 years being Ronald Reagan, working with us on lower taxes and limited government. And now the next 2, he's trying to shore up his progressive base, and he's running as Joe Biden Jr. And he wanted to make sure that he beat the White House to the punch. He didn't give a damn about what the details in the legislation actually were. And when you actually dug into what was being accomplished here, it was more cosmetic than anything else. But he wanted that front page press, and he got it. He's the darling of the New York press and the liberal eggheads at all the editorial boards across the state.
This will take a while to weave its way through the court process. Will it be challenged in court? And do you think? I know you're not a lawyer, but based upon your conversations with lawyers and some of the lawyers in the legislature, will this pass constitutional muster?
Yeah, one of my best attributes is that I'm not a lawyer, and I like your pronunciation. It sounds a little bit more like a liar. I'm just a former Air Force officer, but I'll tell you, when I read the Second Amendment about the militia and the fact that you take a look at this piece of legislation, forget the assault weapons portion. Take a look at the fact that they're telling you that you can only have 7 bullets in a magazine. And if you have 8 bullets in there, if you leave on vacation and your wife has 8 bullets to protect her family, all of a sudden she's a criminal. if that's not in violation of our Constitution and the Second Amendment, then I don't know what the hell is.
Well, and we've made the point, Senator, that that when the founders guaranteed the right to bear arms, you've got some on the left now that are saying, oh, we can restrict ammunition, we can ban ammunition, we can tax ammunition. That'd be like saying the First Amendment guarantees the right to have a quill pen but no ink. A gun without the bullets is a club. It isn't the right to bear clubs.
Man, if anybody wants to know why we need to wake up in this country, they should look at the debate in the lower house in the New York State Assembly. We have members who were actually debating the fact, saying that forget 7 bullets, people should only be able to have 1 bullet. And if you look at this debate, I really hope that the nation was watching with Governor Cuomo, who's looking to be president. He started with confiscation. In his heart, he wants confiscation. And now these firearms are going to be registered. Registration is the first step towards confiscation. But I can tell you at the negotiating table, he wanted confiscation of magazines, he wanted confiscation of ammo, and he wanted confiscation of guns. And they have an agenda, an extreme leftist agenda, to go after our Second Amendment, every bit of it. And people in the rest of this country need to wake up. I know a lot of us are still scratching our head after this past national election. If you look towards California, look towards New York, that's where these other states are headed, and it's scary as hell. And you know what? Meanwhile, they're trying to make it illegal to drink soda. But they want to legalize pot. We just passed gay marriage, but it's going to be illegal to have to go turkey hunting. They're turning law-abiding citizens into criminals. I mean, it's just criminally insane where this state is headed.
What kind of response have you had both within your state, Greg, and around the country? I mean, what kind of response are you getting? Are people in New York waking up? I know people around the country, particularly in red states, are going, man, I like that guy in New York.
I'll tell you what, man. I mean, when you look at my district, I'll be very honest with you. I mean, this is probably not a winning issue for me. I would say at least 60 to 70% of my constituency. I'm just north of the city. I don't represent. Hillary
Clinton is in your district, right?
Yeah. Bill Clinton.
You're her state senator.
Bill Clinton actually endorsed my opponent the last election. I have more. It's a Democratic district. It's a very tough district. But when it comes to standing up on the Second Amendment, I just couldn't play in this charade, and it personally disgusts me. I mean, we're very close to Newtown, Connecticut. It's literally right over the border. And we have folks in our community who were personally affected by that tragedy, and to watch politicians use it. I mean, they didn't even allow a day to go by before they began to leverage that tragedy. And when you look specifically at that instance, there was a sick individual, violently, mentally ill animal who mowed down children. Now, his mother, evidently according to reports, even told the babysitter, you can't turn your back on this kid even for a second. Yet she took him to a shooting range. Somehow he had access to firearms. And we have a mental health system in this country where the violently mentally ill are falling through the cracks. The president doesn't want to have a serious conversation about that. Our governor doesn't want to have a serious conversation about that, because that's the conversation that's tough and requires real leadership. And if he was serious about making sure we didn't have atrocities like this in the future, he'd put his balls on the table and he would deal with this issue in a very serious way, instead of passing a cosmetic, front page garnering assault on our Second Amendment.
Well, and when you look at the places that have the most restrictive gun restrictions, gun control laws in place like Chicago, I mean, it's the murder capital of the world. Newt Gingrich pointed out earlier this week, if gun control worked, Chicago would be safe.
Yeah, we have Mayor Bloomberg down in New York City preaching to the rest of us how we have to pass more restrictive gun control laws. He has the most restrictive gun control laws in the nation. I mean, and he's preaching from his kingdom. How about you clean up your own shop? It's the illegal firearms and it's the criminals. It amazes me. There's a lot of attention is drawn to the atrocities, certainly for good reason, because it shakes us all to our core. But these are violently, mentally ill, sick individuals. If you look at the guns, the vast majority of gun crimes, it's in a lot of times in these inner cities. I mean, we have a lot of young black kids and Hispanic kids. They're getting killed every single day in the inner city, and it's with illegal firearms. Yet the same legislators from those districts don't want to talk about that. They don't want to increase penalties on criminals using illegal firearms, and that's over 95% of the where the focus needs to be.
Well, and they certainly, these criminal murderers are not obeying the law. It's already against the law to kill people. It's already against the law to go steal guns. It's already against the law to beat people to death and stab people to death. We already have laws.
And that's why the bill in New York State that tries to restrict the number of bullets that you can have in a magazine is simply asinine. I mean, the only people who are actually going to obey that law are good law-abiding citizens. And here's, we have this woman down in Georgia who protected her family. I don't know what kind of a weapon she had, but say she had a magazine for 10 bullets. Now in the state of New York, and I think she shot that guy 6 times, and he was still alive.
Yeah. I think she actually shot him 5 times and only hit him 4, and he went out to his car, drove away. I mean, so
if she had 7 or 8, if she had 8 bullets now in New York State and that gun, she'd be a criminal. I mean, it's asinine, the focus of these people.
And what if there'd been 2 guys? Because there weren't enough bullets to stop one. But anyway. Hey, we appreciate you, Senator Greg Ball in New York State. Keep up the great fight. And Texas is saying everybody come down to there if you don't like New York. And
hey, I love Texas. I spent a lot of time in Tennessee, so there's still good states. We got to fight the fight.
We appreciate you. Senator Rand Paul joins us next. We'll talk more guns in a moment. This is the Steve Gill Show.